Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we turn to talking about the United States Senator Elizabeth Warren, whom President Trump almost affectionately calls Pocahontas. And let me tell you why. Since the late 1980s, Elizabeth Warren has been claiming to be Native American, even though she's obviously white as snow. And she's also been bold enough to use this claim to get advantageous treatment and access to higher learning institutions like Harvard Law School, which identified her as a person of color. Warren also reported herself as a racial minority in her law school association from 1986 to 1995. She also certainly used this minority card to help her get elected into the United States Senate in 2011. Now, for the longtime viewers out there, does any of this sound familiar? Because we've certainly seen a few stories like this on the show here before. Rachel Dolezal immediately comes to mind. She's another middle American white woman who pretended to be a minority to get special treatment, but at least Rachel tried to dress the part when she did, giving herself dreadlocks and even darker skin. So in my opinion, Warren needs some of her own Native American flair if she wants to keep this charade up. Indian braids or a feathered headband would be preferable. That, or she could at least talk with a more Native American voice. Kind of like how Shaun King does a voice to try and make him sound black. He's a white Black Lives Matter advocate who pretends to be black, pretending to be a minority too. And although Shaun King and Rachel Dolezal are the worst, well, it looks like Elizabeth Warren is in the running to be the worst too. The worst of all the fake race people, I guess. Or maybe they're transracial or something. I'm not sure. And that brings us to today's story. Most of this is nothing new on the Elizabeth Warren front, and Trump has been calling her out for this for years. The story was almost dead too, but that was before Warren decided to step in and make things 100 times worse for herself this week. You see, recently, a few days ago, Elizabeth Warren decided to come out with her own little video, revealing that she is in fact part Native American, or so she claims. Liz took a DNA test and everything, supposedly revealing that she's Native American. Well, that's what she and the mainstream left-wing media want you to think, in their headlines and from this report. Many news reports are even backing Warren after this ridiculous claim, with outrageous headlines like this one from the Daily Beast saying, "Breaking, Elizabeth Warren releases her DNA test. Yes, she is Native American. Well, she sure doesn't look Native to me." And when you look into her reveal and the DNA test results a little closer, she's really not that much Native American at all. She's like 1/1000th of a percent Native, like way less than half a percentage. This is very small and pretty much not worth mentioning, and it's especially not worth championing, waving this insignificant percentage like a flag all over the country in order to get special treatment. And that's not even mentioning the fact that we are all part Native American by this logic. Almost every American family living on this continent for a generation or two will end up having some Native American lineage in their family tree. In fact, Warren's amount of Native blood is actually less than the average. So by her logic, we're all Native Americans. And if anything, she's less Native than the rest of us, which kind of makes this whole goddamn thing pointless. Regardless, this was Elizabeth Warren's play this week. She released her DNA test to try and prove herself right, but she actually did the opposite. This whole thing is backfiring on Elizabeth, clearly, and in turn, this is another big loss for the Democratic Party too. Warren likely did this to try and clear the air, in order to gear up for a possible presidential run in 2020. Many are talking about her running against Trump in the next election, and I have to say, bring it on. Beating Warren will be a breeze, especially after she just shot herself in the foot here. There's no way a fake, wannabe Native, Democratic woman will beat Trump. She may even be a worse candidate than Hillary Clinton, if you can believe that. And also, let's not forget, the midterm elections are only 3 weeks away from now, and this certainly isn't a good headline for the Democrats at this moment, just before Americans go to vote and Elizabeth Warren is going down in flames for pretending to be a Native American. You really can't make this shit up. As if losing the Kavanaugh hearings weren't bad enough for Democrats, now we got Elizabeth Warren blowing shit up too. It's almost like the Democrats are trying to lose at this point. I really don't think they could be doing any worse if they tried. For more information on this Warren story, let's turn to a biased left-wing propaganda piece from CBS News called "Cherokee Nation Calls Elizabeth Warren's DNA Test Useless." That's right, even the Native Americans themselves are rejecting Warren's ancestry here. This should be good. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Massachusetts Senator and possible presidential hopeful Elizabeth Warren released results of a DNA test she says proves she has some Native American heritage. President Trump has mocked Warren's ancestry claims and derisively referred to her as Pocahontas. Ed O'Keefe is in Washington with this one.
I can't believe these liberal shills are trying to just smile their way through this. You can't grin and bear it through this, guys. And the first guy in this report even mentions Warren's possible presidential run. Like that's still happening. Maybe they didn't get the memo, but Warren is done. Her goose is cooked. But hey, let's go ahead and see what the Democrat-run media machine will try and do. How are they going to spin it this time? And they're going to need a lot of spin. They're going to need spin of the likes we've never seen before. Wedding DJ level spin. I'm talking washing machine high cycle full load level spin. So let's go ahead and brace ourselves, folks.
Good morning, John. The campaign-style video seeks to directly address questions about her Native American heritage. It's a controversy that's dogged Warren ever since she first ran for the Senate 6 years ago. And the new push is just the latest sign that she's actively preparing to run for president in 2020.
Before we get to that, let me just say, Warren has had this coming for much longer than 6 years since she's been in the Senate. Pocahontas has been living this lie for decades. It's been over 30 years since Warren started this lie, and you have to give her credit. She is sticking to her guns, which shows she's a true Democrat too, and an SJW as well, because they do always double down. Her campaign-style ancestry reveal is a stunning display of hypocrisy though, and it's also something that happened on South Park last season. Yeah, and forgive me for getting into my South Park explain mode here for a minute, but I can't not mention the holiday special episode from last year. South Park was goofing on all those 23andMe studies everyone is taking nowadays. You've probably heard about them already. You basically sign up on some website and send them a DNA sample, and then they tell you your background and stuff. It's been a real hit with the millennials and the soccer mom types. You guys might even remember a friend of the show, Lauren Southern. She did a DNA test video a few years back. In it, Lauren was freaking out because she was part Spanish or something. It was actually pretty hilarious. And back to the South Park episode, in that one, Randy was getting DNA tested at a party so he can try and show all his friends that he's part Native American. It was pretty hilarious and even more funny now that Elizabeth Warren has done the same thing in real life. Warren is doing a DNA test publicly in the real world, unironically, and that's why I have to say it here. South Park called this, and wow, seeing it all play out now in real time is very fun to watch. Now before we get back to the CBS Warren story, let's watch a quick clip from that South Park episode. It's super funny. Check this out.
I thought I was just a standard white guy, but DNA and me showed that I'm actually 4.2% Cherokee Indian.
Turns out I'm not totally white. I'm also part Northern Asian and even some Kurdish. I'm a victim of oppression.
Okay, now back to CBS News.
She owes the country an apology.
President Trump didn't back down from his attacks on Warren.
What's the percentage? 1/1000?
Who released a video made with him in mind.
The president likes to call my mom a liar. What do the facts say?
Warren enlisted a Stanford University DNA researcher for the test.
The facts suggest that you
absolutely have a Native American ancestor in your pedigree.
Again, we all have a Native American ancestor in our family. If your family has been here in America for a generation or two, it's really bound to happen. But does that make you a Native American? No, not at all. Not if you ask me. Perhaps you could say you're part Native American, but I think how big that part is actually matters. Like say, if you're half or a quarter or even an eighth, maybe that's worth mentioning. That means you either had a parent, grandparent, or great-grandparent that was Native. I would say those count and could even be a significant part of your background. But let's not pretend these three legitimate levels of ancestry are on the same level. Clearly having a Native parent is more influential to a person and their DNA than a grandparent or a great-grandparent. And now back to Elizabeth Warren, well, we need to further recognize how far down the line her supposed Native American relative is. She's 1/1000% Native. After all, so I would bet we could easily go down the line past grandparents, great-grandparents, and even great-great-grandparents, and much further. Basically what Warren's reveal says is that her great-great-great-great-great-grandparent might be a Native American. That's 5 greats and 6 generations removed from Elizabeth. And that was also me being pretty generous. It's probably even further down the line. Regardless though, let's stick with 5 greats, and after spelling it all out, do you guys really think this amount of Native American lineage is worth mentioning? Do you think that it's fair to straight up call Warren a Native American? And most importantly, do you think this level of ancestry warrants Warren's use of the Native American title in order to get special treatment and privileges? Because I would certainly say no to all of this. And I think most of America would call Warren out for this too, much like how Trump does.
Warren has just a trace of Native American heritage, but she first publicly identified as such in the late 1980s.
I've got more Indian blood in me than Pocahontas, and I have none.
The controversy has made Warren an irresistible target for the president.
They call her Pocahontas. And Pocahontas was up.
Well, the president should target Elizabeth Warren, and he should be calling her out. Warren's a liar and a fraud, and she's exploiting the system too. Not to mention she's also doing a shameful disservice to actual Native Americans. How ironic is it that the news tries to slam Trump for this situation? Trump is the one after the truth and the one trying to expose corrupt people here, corrupt politicians. He's doing the mainstream media's job for them, while they go completely off the rails trying to defend their corrupt and shady Democratic friends. It's super sad to see it go down this way, but I am glad the media is falling apart too. They need to be totally reinvented.
Comes after Warren said she would look at running for president, setting her up as an early 2020 opponent for the president.
I'm gonna get one of those little kits.
who's already practicing for a matchup.
We will say, I will give you $1 million to your favorite charity, paid for by Trump, if you take the test and it shows you're an Indian.
Here's the other thing I don't get here. The media keeps bringing up this comment Trump made like he was proven wrong here, when really he was proven right. Warren took the test and showed us that she's not a Native American. Having 1/1000% Indian blood does not make you a Native American. I would say you need at least 25% of some kind of DNA in order to try and claim it, but even that seems low. And also, let's not forget, Warren doesn't even have 1%, not even 0.5% or 1/4 or 1/8 of one. She has 1/1000% Native American blood, and she thinks that's enough to claim she's a Native American, which is absolutely absurd.
Tweeting he should send the check to charity. But Mr. Trump imposed some conditions.
I'll only do it if I can test her personally. Okay, that will not be something I enjoy doing either.
Warren criticized the president for that response in a 28-tweet storm of her own, calling the president a bully who scares easy.
Now she's crying about being bullied? SJW confirmed. Warren's certainly a fan of identity politics too. That's why she wants to be a minority so bad. She gets special treatment and, like how they said on that South Park episode, it makes her 1/1000% victim too.
And we should note that the Cherokee Nation criticized Warren's announcement, saying that her use of the DNA test is inappropriate and, quote, undermining tribal interests with her continued claims of tribal heritage.
And I think that last part is actually the most important. The Cherokee Nation themselves, the actual Native Americans, they've disavowed Elizabeth Warren, as they should. Like I said before, Warren is exploiting the Native Americans and damaging their history and reputation with this nonsense. But don't just take my word for it. Here's a clip of an actual Cherokee man who says Warren's DNA test is irrelevant.
The problem with the DNA test is that it proves nothing of relevance to whether a person is a citizen of an Indian nation, a member of an Indian nation. DNA at best can give you some indicators of some markers that indicate that you're related to somebody who lived long ago that may have lived in North and South America, may have been a native peoples of those continents. It's irrelevant to what it means to be a Native American in this country.
Wow, this guy really went all rice gum on Elizabeth Warren. Calling her irrelevant is just perfect too, because not only is that what her Native American ancestry is, it's also what she is as a whole. Elizabeth Warren is irrelevant. She's a useless wannabe Democratic shill and fake Native American. Sure, she may be a bit accomplished, having written some books, being a Harvard-educated lawyer, and now serving on the Senate, but knowing what we know now, we can see her whole career, Elizabeth Warren's whole life, really, it was all based on a lie. What do you guys think? Is Elizabeth Warren Native American? Who does a public DNA reveal anyway? Sounds weird and staged to me. And what about this actual Native calling Liz irrelevant? Do you guys agree? And could this Cherokee man be our guy? Comment your thoughts and everything below. And don't forget to check out our new alternative account on Minds.com. We'll be posting some new updates and some extra videos there soon. So go to Minds.com/nobullshit. And thanks again for watching today's video. We'll see you all next time.